Hi, I'm Valarie Keaton. Today I'm going to be demonstrating tiny scales stitch, which is a stitch pattern that I've used in two of my knitting patterns, Fisherwoman socks and Griffin Poncho. Okay, so here's what the stitch looks like. As you can see, there are these tiny crescents or scales that work across the fabric on a diagonal. The stitch is really easy to knit and it's really easy to read because when you look at it, when you finish a row, if you see that one of your scales is in the wrong position, like for instance if this one was here instead of here, you know you need to go back a row. So let me show you how this works. Tiny scale stitch has a 4-row repeat. We're going to start with row 1. Row 1 always starts with knit 1. And then we're going to lift the ladder between the two stitches, the one we've just knit and the next one we're going to knit. So we're going to do that from front to back. We're lifting the ladder. Then I'm going to knit 1, 2 more stitches, and then I'm going to pass that ladder over the 2 stitches I've just knit. Now I'm going to knit 2 more stitches, knit 1, knit 2, and then we're going to lift the ladder front to back, knit 1, knit 2, and then pass the ladder over the 2 stitches we've just knit. So the rhythm for this stitch is knit 1, 2, lift, knit 1, 2, pass. We've just passed, so now we're going to knit 1, 2, lift, front to back, knit 1, 2, pass, knit 1, 2, lift, knit 1, 2, pass, knit 1, 2, lift, front to back, knit 1, 2, pass. When you're knitting flat, you're always going to end row 1 with 1 stitch at the end, and we're just going to knit that stitch. When you're knitting this stitch in the round like you are on Fisherwoman socks, it works a little bit differently, and that will be spelled out in the pattern directions. So now we're on the back of our flat piece, and we're just going to purl back. So that's easy. 1, 2. Here we are on row 3. We've purled back, so now we're on the 3rd row of the 4-row repeat. And on row 3, we're going to knit 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, before we lift the ladder between the stitches. We're always going to lift from front to back. Now I'm going to knit 1, 2 stitches, and then I'm going to take that ladder and I'm going to pass it over the 2 stitches I've just knit. And then I'm going to knit 2 stitches, lift the ladder front to back, knit 2 stitches, and pass the ladder over the 2 stitches we've just knit. So now you can see we're back in our pattern of knit 1, 2, lift, knit 1, 2, pass, knit 1, 2, lift, knit 1, 2, pass. And at the end of the row there'll be 3 stitches, and we're just going to knit those stitches. So you can see that makes it easy to remember the pattern, because at the beginning of row 1 we knit 1 stitch before we start the lift, knit 1, 2, pass, knit 1, 2, lift, knit 1, 2, pass, and we end with 1 stitch. And on row 3 of the pattern, we start with 3 stitches and end with 3 stitches. And of course, on row 4, we're just going to purl back to the beginning of the work. On the wrong side, you always purl. If you're knitting in the round, of course, you would knit that row. Okay, so we've added 1 repeat of the stitch pattern to our swatch. And as you can see, our tiny crescents are in nice diagonal rows. So that's tiny scale stitch, and that's all there is to it. Have fun.